Hello, this is Jessica with On a Stack of Books, and today I'm going to do a really quick review of The New Wilderness. I recently read this book and did the Read With Me, Walk With Me video where I read the first chapter, and a lot happened in that first chapter, and so I'm very interested if anyone has read this, what they thought of that first chapter, if they read along with me, and if based on that they would want to read this. So I did finish it. And so I'm going to do a quick review, and the parameters that I use when I'm looking, when I'm reading a book and I'm kind of deciding how do I rate it, is, what I liked, what I didn't like. I'm always looking if there's recipes or if a specific certain food was significant to the story. And then did I learn anything? Will I gift it or give it away? And then if there was any takeaways, and I'll explain and give an example of what I mean by takeaways. So first and foremost, what did I like and what did I not like? I liked that the setting, the theme is survivalist. There's a group of people there's 20 of them that are taken from a city that the air is dirty and the living conditions are not great, and it's getting worse. There's really no end in sight, and so they are transplanted by choice to this new wilderness. And so I like that theme. I like that idea. They're living off the land. They're there. However, a lot of the detail of how they live off the land, how they survive, what they do, the trials, and what they went through, what they figured out, what they could do, what they couldn't do, a lot of that was really glossed over. I don't feel like there was a lot of detail with that, and I just feel like there was so much to what it could have been. So while I went into it very excited, I was very excited to read the book because I liked the idea, and it kind of left me like, it was more a story about a mother and a daughter and their relationship, their complicated relationship. They were part of the study group, they went to the New Wilderness, and they went because her daughter, Agnes, was sick. She was very sick. And basically these doctors that her mother B had been taking her to were telling her, basically the only thing that's going to make her better is clean air. Can you clean the air that you're breathing, that she's breathing? And so you've got B, the mother, Agnes, the daughter, and it's really their relationship once they're in the wilderness. They do kind of talk briefly about when they're living in the city, and basically just enough to let you know that she was very sick. B's husband, Glenn, is not her biological father. He is the head of researching for this study group, and I don't really know any more about that other than he started this research, or he headed, or I don't really know exactly, but he was in charge of it, and so he applied for the 3 of them to be part of the 20 that go, because he thinks that it'll save their daughter. And it does. She thrives in this environment, and seems to be really well, and it seems like she gets better almost immediately. So it was definitely the air that is bad in the city. So yeah, I also did not like the ending, and I felt like it just didn't tie up all of the loose ends, and it created almost more questions. I didn't like the ending. I didn't care for the ending, unless there's going to be a sequel or another book, because they left room for that. The second parameter was recipes or food. And in this particular type of story, I would think that they would talk about the plants that they recognized and what they could eat and what they could make out of these plants, teas or tinctures or something. I think one point they talked about they could peel this lichen type growing grass something off of these rocks and they were eating it. But it was, again, everything was super glossed over. It wasn't in detail, and it was just, because obviously these people had to eat, they had to forage, they had to hunt, they had to feed themselves. They were not given anything beyond some very, very basic survival. I think they had this huge cooking pot that was like a cast iron. It was so big that 2 people had to carry it. So not a great choice. I don't know if they chose that or if it was given to them. But so the food and recipes part definitely was lacking. They did talk about rationing food as they created their supplies in order to travel. They were nomadic. They couldn't stay in one place. And they all worked together hunting and smoking meat so that they had jerky. But yeah, that was about it. Did I learn anything? I really had to think about this one. At first glance, I was going to say no. On page 200, the daughter Agnes talks about hunting, and it was a strategy to hunt. So she is going to find the dominant deer so that they can hunt later. So let's see, so I'm going to read this part. The deer had popped up, the ears swiveled, all of them had reacted. So Agnes waited a while, then clapped. The female with the highest white stockings snapped her muzzle toward the sound, paused, and then snorted, and all the deer took off across the meadow. Okay, Agnes said, standing up. Okay, what? We can go back. Did you find out which one was dominant? Yeah, Agnes said. Which one? You don't know? I don't. Agnes whistled. This was a lot of work. The one who snorted, she was the dominant. And what do you do with that information? If we kill her first, the others are easier to hunt. She's their leader. Without her, they don't know how to protect themselves. That's sad. No, it's not. But what about the babies? Without the dominant, they're even easier to kill. Jake winced. No. They are very useful. Their skins come right off. Please stop. They're good to practice on for the kids. You should practice on one. Never. You will have to practice on one. Is this legal? So this is like a conversation between Agnes, the daughter, and then this other boy. He's about her age. And it just kind of gives you a good little snippet that she's very much streamlined the way her thinking, like it works for her. Like she is, again, she's thriving there. This is not a struggle for a transition for her. So I don't hunt, and so I was like, oh, okay, like that would be, so I had to find something. But again, at first glance, when I was thinking or trying to find, I was like, did I learn anything? I don't think so. Will I gift this or give it away? I will gift it, or no, I'm sorry. I will give it away in a little free library. I will include a little lunchbox love note that just has a quick little review, not a review, but just, like the type of book and what I thought. And so I'll put that in here because I don't know anybody that I can think of that's close to me that would enjoy this offhand. So yeah, it'll go in a little. This book for me did not have any takeaways. And a takeaway for me is a little something that when you're reading, it resonates with you in some way. It can resonate in a positive way, a negative way. It could be a different perspective, a new idea, or just a really great thought that you want to remember. And unfortunately, I did not find any in here. And so I did want to give you an example of what a takeaway would be. since I included it in this as one of the parameters. And I read several years ago a book called The Art of Racing in the Rain by Garth Stein. They did turn this into a movie, I think, and but it's about a race car driver. And there's a part where his wife is having dinner with her parents, and they're sort of harping on her that he's gone a lot because he's this race car driver and he's traveling, and how much of that is really contributing to them as a family or their household or their, you know, whatever. And her response is, he's my husband and he's Zoe's father and I love him. What else does he need to contribute to our family? And I really just loved the simplicity of this, that was enough. It was enough that he was who he was and the relationship worked for them. It made sense to them. And it just shut down her parents, sort of tearing him down as a husband, and that idea of, well, you know, you need to bring this to the table, or you need to have this job, or you need to do this, or you need to do more of this and less of this, or whatever. And just, it was enough. Like, you don't have to be more than, you know, you're my husband, you're the father of my child, and I love him, and that's it. So it wasn't a new perspective, but I just loved the simplicity of it. So I took that as a takeaway. And so that is my example. Does not have to be huge and remarkable and earth-shattering. It was just that simple. And I really thought that this would have had something like that in it. You know, because it can just be such a small little moment, just a little tender thing. And I just, for me, it did not happen in this book. So, you know, it is what it is. I enjoyed the read. There were parts that I cringed a little bit. A lot, actually. There were parts that, like, my jaw just, like, dropped. And I did put in the Read With Me, Walk With Me video and in my Goodreads review that, you know, I have spoilers, but that I put a trigger warning in the Read With Me, Walk With Me video, because in the very first chapter, there is something that happens that's very major, that really could bother people, and it's a stillbirth, but it's really what happens to the body of the stillbirth child. And right out the gate, it's in the first chapter. I mean, it's right when you start reading, and so that may really turn some people off and just be like, I don't want to read a book like this. I don't want to read if that's what it's going to be. And so I did put that in there, that, you know, just to let you know, give you a heads up. And then I'll write out a Goodreads review, and I do that in much more detailed, where I'll kind of cite or quote things, because I think it helps illustrate maybe why I like something or don't like something. And I find that if I take my time and I write my thoughts down, it helps me appreciate the book more. It helps me appreciate just the process of reading it, retaining some information, because I can read a book, and then if I just read it and go on to the next one later, if I was gonna say, hey, like, you should read this book or you shouldn't read this book, I'd be like, oh yeah, what was the main character's first name? I don't really remember, and I think there was a horse and somebody died, and like, I don't, like, it's not anything that would be helpful to anyone. So if I want a proper or a coherent type of review, I write my thoughts down. Otherwise, it's just really difficult for me. So I figure, you know, if I'm going to take the time to read the book, the least I can do is make those notes. If I don't like it, if I do like it, and what. But I really do it for me, so that I get more out of the reading experience. And then also, it's kind of fun to go back and read my own reviews from, you know, a long time ago, because, you know, maybe I'm in a different place and I read it and I think, that, you know, I wouldn't have thought of that then, or whatever. So Anyway, if I'm really doing good, I make notes while I'm reading, but sometimes, you lay down, you're comfortable, and you don't have anything near you, and so you just kind of dog-ear the page. And I'm not much of an annotate type person. I don't annotate while I read per se, because I usually read at night and I'm laying in bed and it's comfortable. So this is my quick and dirty review of The New Wilderness by Diane Cook. I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. And I'm really curious if anybody else read it and what they think. So let me know. And until next time, I will be reading. Bye.